41 Minecraft things to do when you're bored at home. For various reasons, you're probably stuck at home right now with not much to do, just an expanse of nothingness. So, it's a good thing that Minecraft has plenty of projects, tasks, and activities to keep you busy and entertained. And these are some of my favorites to avoid that slump. And also, YouTube let me know that I only have one stack of subscribers, so if you want to help me reach a full double chest of subscriber ore, find 41 different ways to press that subscribe button down below. It helps a lot. If the tunes in Minecraft are getting you down, then why not try to collect every music disc? With 12 to get, there's plenty to keep you busy there. And granted, not all of them are created equal. I mean, at least 2 of them suck. But if you want to get all of them and fill out your collection, then all you need is a skeleton and a creeper to get you through this time. Also, if you're going through all the effort to find every single music disc, then why not try to find every one of the parrot colors? Because at least then, they're not choosy on the music, and you can create some pretty hilarious memes. I'm just saying, it might be worthwhile. And if you're gonna be the guy who has every single parrot color, then why not be the guy with every single mob? Making a zoo is a great thing to do because there's just so many different mobs that you're able to collect. And while some of them are able to be easily taken with leads, what I'd probably suggest for this one is to grab a boat. Because not only does it look hilarious to have a panda in your back seat, but also it's a pretty effective way to get them where you want to go. But you want to know what would work great in that zoo? Finding one of the rarest mobs in Minecraft. Now, for those of you who haven't seen this one, finding a baby zombie villager that's coated in enchanted diamond armor with a sword on top of a chicken is one of the rarest things in the game. In fact, it's more rare than getting the same world twice in a row. So, if you're feeling like you want to set out on the biggest search of a lifetime and become your own kind of version of Captain Ahab, this might be the one for you. And if you're trying to make a little bit of a grocery list before you set out on the expedition, then why not also try to find a fossil? These rare bone structures will generate under the ground, and if you happen to excavate one of them, then you're in luck because they're pretty hard to find. And if you're a fan of preservation, then you should know that this belongs in a museum. So why don't you make one of those too? Not only does this pair great with having every single mob in your collection, but you could also try and find every single block and put them on display for everyone to see who walks through. And if you're getting every block, then you should try to get every item as well, although those belong better in chests, so maybe making an every item sorter is the way to go. It's not a cheap project, and you'll probably need a couple of iron farms to help you through this one. But if you happen to do it, then there's no easier way to clear out your inventory. Now, I'm sure some of you are familiar with the idea of a super smelter, where you have a big furnace array and it's able to help you process through your items. But what you really want is something like this, what I call the super duper smelter, which goes through a stack of items in the time that it takes a regular furnace to do one. Which means you can have all the cactus green that you want with no extra hassle to you. Although it is worth saying that with a furnace array that big, you are gonna have to find a way to power it. And if you don't have a lot of coal, a good sustainable way to do it is by a tree farm. But not any old tree farm that's just gonna waste through your axe's durability. No, what you want here is a TNT duper tree farm, which will actually drop an explosive right on top of the logs and collect them all for you to use. And for extra style points, you can also add in a switch like this, which you can turn on or off the charcoal mode. That combo will give you quite the setup for smelting, but if you're looking for ores to actually get refined, then why not head out to the mines? But of course, we're not going to be doing traditional mining, because with TNT power, we can make our very own tunnel bore that's great for gathering every single material at the base level. And with an explosive powered beast like this, you'll get more materials and building blocks than you could possibly dream of. And with that, you're gonna need somewhere to store it, so how about trying to make a giant vault? No, I mean like a huge vault. Like a 12 by 12 vault door that's completely powered by redstone just to open up and then see all of your mass riches behind. Granted, it might take a little while to open up, but all that extra time is just gonna keep impatient, unwanted people at bay. And speaking of keeping trouble away, then how about making one of these? A hostile mob switch. And while a design like this might be hard to wrap your head around, it sure is for me, by having hundreds of withers underneath this bedrock trapped, it's actually possible to flip a switch on a chunk floater to then keep these withers loaded, and then the mob cap will spawn no other hostile mobs while they're around. Which means it's possible to keep your entire server safe. But just be careful how you set it up, because sometimes it can get a little risky on the execution.
No! Oh, I just got hit! I just got
None
hit!
of you understand.
Oh no!
Worth noting is that by toggling a mob switch like that, you are set to break a few farms, but how about one that actually ignores the mob cap? By building these giant portal arrays over in the overworld, when zombie pigmen spawn, that ignores the actual mob switch, so that you're able to get your gold and flesh for villager trades the exact same way that you would if the mob switch was off. Although, all those portals aren't exactly cheap, so you're gonna need a whole lot of obsidian, and a good way to do that is by, of course, making a wither-powered obsidian farm. Because no one wants to waste their time at home mining obsidian. At least I don't. And while it can take a little while before that loop starts and you actually start producing obsidian, once it gets up and running, the job's sure to get done. But all of those are farms that feature some pretty dangerous creatures, so if you want to get a little bit more in touch with your passive side, try this. Did you know that with enough light and grass spawn proofing, it's actually possible to make a passive mob farm? Meaning you can get your pigs, sheep, and cows exactly how you want them, in a farm, produced fresh every single day. And while it's not exactly free range, I think it'll get the trick done. Or hey, since with the mob switch you're basically in peaceful mode now, you're gonna need some new way to get slime for your farms. And luckily for that, there is a silly enough way to do it, albeit a little gross. You see, in the game, pandas can occasionally sneeze out a slime ball, which, without even going into that, at the very least you can make a 2006 themed farm and get your slime needs covered without having to kill any mobs. Although the price you pay is gonna be a little slow, but that's kinda worth it for not having any other mobs. And now that you have all your hard-earned slime, it's time we put it to use. And for that, there's nothing quite like building a flying machine, preferably called the Snot Rocket. With this, it's entirely possible to send yourself back and forth in a two-way design in the end for actually exploring the different cities. It's not as fast as an Elytra, but if you're actually searching for the wings, it's a pretty reliable way to get back and forth. Just make sure not to get impatient, because as you're setting out, it can go pretty slow. And nothing's gonna hurt the journey more than getting a little antsy and hitting the shift key. Or if you want even more dominance established in the end, then how about trying this? Now, I've seen plenty of people turn the Nether into the overworld, but I think the end is a better candidate for that for one simple reason: water. So with enough light for your grass to grow, and enough water to make yourself a pond, it's entirely possible for you to set up a vacation home over in the last dimension. Just make sure the dragon isn't there when you're trying to do this, because then that hard work's gonna go right up in smoke. But hey, say the dragon makes you angry, and now it's time to get back. Then why not try to get a little creative on your revenge strategy? And for this, I think the only right answer is to make numerous different redstone contraptions that'll let you slay the beast in style. Because nothing quite says a robot uprising like taking down the final boss using only TNT cannons. Or if that's not your style, then what about going back to before there even was an end dimension? Speaking personally, revisiting Beta is such a cool experience. Just to be able to see the old textures, listen to the classic sounds, and kinda remember a simpler time. Plus, going back to the old updates is a blast to do with friends. Whether they've been around since the Adventure update, or it's their first time back in years. Or maybe you're a little bit more adversarial than nostalgic towards your friends. In that case, a fun and harmless prank to pull off on your friends during your spare time is to flip their entire base upside down. Now, don't get me wrong, pulling this off requires some skill and patience, but trust me, their reaction's gonna be entirely worth it. And also, extra points if you flip all the items around in their chest. That's just a nice touch. And if you're on a prank kick, or say you want to retaliate for, I don't know, your house getting flipped, then this is a great way to follow up. Now, wait until your friend goes AFK, and then a great surprise to put on them is by locking them into an all-white infinity room. The way you design this is by having enough bright light sources around them, either glowstone or sea lanterns can do the trick, and then cover them with item frames with snow-covered flat maps. By doing this, the lack of hitboxes will completely disorientate your friend, and they won't even know where they're going or where they're looking. It's pretty fun to do. And if your friend's a good sport, then why not try to lock them in a maze as well? That can just get it even crazier than before. Though, maybe you're more in touch with your artistic side than your sadistic side, in which case I'd suggest using those same maps to make some really cool map art. While it's pretty tough to lay out, it is entirely possible to make some really intricate pixel art to feature around your house with this. And if you're looking for an extra detail to go that little bit farther, then what I would suggest is lowering the resolution on the source image, and then you can make it look like just one of the paintings in Minecraft. And while it might be a pretty strange source, it's definitely going to fit in with the rest of the gallery. And look, one of the great things about Minecraft is that you're able to express yourself in a number of different ways. And if you're looking for a different option, then why not try mastering note blocks? With 16 different instruments and 25 different pitches per that instrument, you'll want to get really familiar with the essentials before you try to make your own music. Because there's a lot to learn, and if you don't put in the hours to study, then you're gonna have a bad time. Now equipped with your newfound music skills, I think you'll fit in just perfectly under the sea. Plus, with the use of craftable conduits, you can actually make your own Atlantis right down in the oceans of your survival world, and live there too. And because this is such an intricate and cool project to pull off in survival, anything that you build down here is just gonna look worlds better than it would have above ground. Because builds are always better down where it's wetter. Take it from me. Or if the aquatic life is just a little too dry for you, then how about a different kind of base? If you've been wanting to get that tad bit edgier, then there's nothing quite like building a nether-based counterpart to yours in the overworld. And if you make sure to switch up the block palette, you can get two very different looks for the price of one, making an interdimensional build that's sure to amaze. Or at the very least, I'm sure it'll look better than mine. If you're really considering to make the Nether your home, then answer me this. Have you ever thought about starting a journey from there? Because seriously, in the new Nether update in 1.16, it's entirely possible to spawn yourself in the hellscape and then work your way back to beat the game. Word of warning, it will take plenty of bartering and time out of your day. But if you're in for the long haul, you can make it through hell and back with no problem. And if traveling between literal dimensions is not enough exploring for you, then my suggestion would be trying to see every single biome in the world. And if you're stuck at home, this might just be the closest you'll get to seeing the rest of the world. At least for a little bit. Just make sure that before you head off to see every single one of them, try to bring an elytra. Because while it is entirely possible to make the journey on foot, nothing quite beats taking the adventuring time in the skies. And if you want to make that long trip just a little bit more majestic, then there's no way that compares to doing it on horseback. And if you've got the patience to breed, it is at least possible to make a near-perfect horse. And while this might get you a little bit more familiar with the parrots and bats than you were hoping to, at the very least you can make a really sweet ride from place to place. And if you want to be very specific, then why not build a couple of redstone contraptions that can actually check the speed and jump height of your ride? Because with that level of preparation, you'll finally be as good of a horse girl as the rest of them. But hey, I get it, maybe horses and elytra aren't your style. In which case, the other great way to get around is with a minecart. I mean, who among us has never looked at this and thought how cool it would be to make your own roller coaster? It's like top 3 things to do in creative after making yourself a diamond block house. There's nothing that quite compares. And if you got the material supply, then I suggest trying to manifest it in survival, because then you'll be a true Imagineer. By this point, I think you've got a knack for exploring, so why not try to get every achievement while you're at it? Or advancement, as they're now called. From wasting away an entire diamond hoe to having every single status effect at once, there are some tricky ones to complete, but at the very least, it'll keep you busy. And if you want to get really crazy, then why not try to partner that with your roller coaster skills and get all of them achieved on a rail, because that's just nuts. Although, trying to 100% Minecraft can come with its setbacks, so if you're sick of dying all the time, why not try a raid farm? This is a great way to get non-renewables such as clay for your builds. Or if you got your sights set a little higher, then it's a great way to get emeralds and the Totem of Undying for you to use. Plus, being called the hero of the village certainly has a nice ring to it, I'm just saying. Although, even if you were to collect every single Totem of Undying, none of them are going to help you with this project. Because probably the single most risky thing to build in Minecraft is what's called a void base. Now, normally, you can't place any blocks under bedrock. But using entities like shulkers and chest minecarts, you can actually set it up where, no joke, you have a base set up at -62 blocks under the world. Because nothing quite beats a base packed with all of your essentials and a view of your demise. After doing all of that, it's kinda understandable if you feel like you've reached the top of the food chain. Although, when that happens, I would say to hesitate before deleting your world, because there's another method called soft reset. Now in my case, the way that I'd say to pull this off is to leave every single one of your items behind, and then with only a stack of food to your name, set out in a direction and don't look back. And when you're finished off with that food, then stop there and make your new base where you stand. And then when you've built back up enough materials and you're ready to explore again, you can go back and see the builds that you used to have, which is a pretty cool throwback when you get the chance. But even with all those suggestions, we haven't even scratched the surface on what the community has to offer for longevity. Like, why not build a 1-to-1 scale model of the Earth in Minecraft? Like, no joke, there's actually a Discord team that's happening right now where you can join and make a block-for-block recreation of the world that we're spinning on right now. And as a disclaimer, it's definitely going to be a long time coming, but to even have the chance to see a project like this get finished in our lifetime, that'd be crazy. Or if you're looking for more competition instead of collaboration, then why not join the ranks of a minigame server and try to climb up to the top of the leaderboard? Personally, I've been spending my free time trying to rise myself up in Bed Wars, which has had some mixed results. And that's not to mention all the fantastic challenge maps that exist in the game. Whether it's collecting all of the wool for your monument in Diversity 3, or even starting a new life up in the sky on Skyblock. Plus, if just straight vanilla gets you down, then there's plenty of other options to tweak the game as well. Like these crazy data pack challenges that make it so item drops try to attack you, or every time you jump it gets higher. There's plenty to choose from there. But if you're looking for that modded feel while still keeping a vanilla taste, then why not try this mod called Quirk, which adds these slight little add-on changes that can really make some new opportunities for you to make different farms and builds in your Minecraft world. Or if continuity to vanilla means nothing to you, then the best way to get out of your comfort zone is by trying an insane pack like RL Craft. If you want to put your sanity and skills to risk, then there's nothing quite like it. And finally, if all of those weren't enough of a challenge for you, then why not try to join onto 2B2T and try to survive? But hell, by the time that you connect to that server, the whole thing might already be done anyway, and you can leave your shelter in place. Who knows? Maybe give it a shot. And with that, smash this one in the top left to check out 37 illegal things to never do in Minecraft, or punch this one in the top right for another video. If you want to support the channel, it's free to subscribe and it helps out a lot, so make sure to click that down below. But with that folks, I've been Skip the Tutorial, take care and have a good one, alright?